The world isn't fair. Someone will lie to you no matter how honest you are. It doesn't matter how good you get. Someone less skilled will take your place. That's the truth. But people who know this truth are able to stay alive. And those who make it through rule. You can't see this power, but everyone feels it. This is smart from the bad side. When people are hurt, betrayed, or beaten, dark intelligence starts to grow. Some people give up, but the pain makes you stronger. It is the kind of smarts that waits, watches, listens, and then hits at the right time. While other people fight, you look into things. You do the math while they get mad. You make plans for the future while they are in a state of feeling. Checkers is what most people do. Chess is something you're about to learn. But let me make something very clear before we go any further. This information is meant to keep you safe, not hurt you. Do not use it to hurt other people. Only use it to protect yourself. To understand the game, not to become the bad guy, is the goal. Today, you will learn about the 8 psychological traits that set survivors apart from victims. Leaders separate followers and winners from losers. Right now, I want you to leave this statement below. I choose to be smart about strategy instead of reacting to my feelings. Let's find out the things that important people don't want you to know. First, figure out the opacity. You're never really sure of what you want to do. You only show what needs to be shown. People use their imaginations to fill in the blanks when they only know half of the story. And that idea is what drives them. Picture the most interesting people you know. They don't tell you everything. They don't finish their stories. What they do is answer with more questions. When you want them to explain, they just smile. It's not about lies. This is about contact plans. This is what most talks go like. When someone asks you a question, you feel like you have to answer it completely. You talk about your goals, your fears, and your plans. You give up your power when you lie, even though you think you're being honest and building trust. Smart people know that surprise makes people pay attention. People are interested when you don't tell them everything. Interest comes from being curious. Having an interest earns you respect, and respect gives you power. Someone might ask you what you have planned for the weekend. A lot of people say, I'm just going to stay home and watch some movies. That is totally open. But it is also completely forgettable. You could say, I need to take care of something important. Then talk about something else. Take note of the change. That first answer makes you easy to guess. The second answer makes you interesting. This doesn't mean being rude or keeping everything from other people. Being picky about what you share, and when you share it, is what it means. This is something that the most successful people in any area know how to do. They only tell people enough to keep them interested, but not so much that they lose their edge. The money you have is your information. Do not spend it all at once. People pay more attention to what you say when you use controlled opacity. This is because they know you don't say everything. Because your words are rare, they mean more. Remember that you don't want to be mysterious just for the sake of being mysterious. The goal is to stay in charge of your story and your connections. The second one is an adaptive image. You're not the same around everyone. You change how you act depending on the person you're speaking to. Some people think they know you, but they only see one side of you. Being fake isn't the point. This is about getting things done. This is something you already do. The way you talk to your grandma is different from how you talk to your friends. At a party, you act one way, but not in a job interview. In different settings, you show different sides of your identity. This is a natural trait that an adaptive persona makes happen on purpose. There are many ways to communicate, process knowledge, and hold values that vary from person to person. If you treat everyone the same, you'll connect with some people, but not at all with others. Smart people learn about the person they're talking to and change how they talk to them based on what they learn. Can you analyze them? Just give them the facts. Do they feel things? Get in touch with how they feel. Do they make sense? Show them how something works. Do they see the big picture? Draw the picture. This is not trickery. This is intelligence in conversation. Consider water. Whatever it's in, water takes on the shape of that thing, but it never loses what makes it special. Water is still whether it's in a lake, a cup, or a bottle. The same is true for your adaptable self. You change how you present depending on the setting, but you never give up on your core beliefs and values. Most people get it wrong when they think they have to be real with everyone the same way. Being real doesn't mean being the same everywhere, though. It means being truly yourself while changing how you say things to get the most out of them. Being able to adapt to different people makes you a real character. People feel like you understand them when you talk to them in their language. When you're negotiating, leading, or building relationships, this skill becomes very useful. There's no need to force people to understand you. It's easy for them to get in touch with you. But now comes the warning. Don't change too much or you'll lose who you are. Don't change your morals, your ideals, or your core beliefs. Change should only happen in your show. People who are strong are like diamonds. Even though they have many sides, they are still one stable stone. Third, there is the concept of detachment. You are not a slave to any person, feeling, or thought. You can't be controlled by things you're not scared of losing. You can't be controlled by things that can't bind you. The idea of detachment is likely the one that people in dark intelligence get wrong the most. Some people think it means not caring or being cold. It's not true. It means having no limits. Most people are influenced by the things they are attached to. People treat them badly because they don't want to lose their job. They give up on their beliefs because they don't want to lose a relationship. To avoid being judged, they say what people want to hear instead of what needs to be said. Being afraid of losing makes you weak. Getting rid of that fear makes you strong. Don't think you shouldn't care about anything. This means you shouldn't be in a hurry about anything. Think about this. A business deal is being talked over by two people. Person A needs this deal to go through. It's important to them. They have already planned for it to happen. Person B wants the deal to go through, but they can also do something else. If the terms aren't right, they're ready to leave. In that deal, who do you think has more power? Of course, person B can negotiate from a position of strength since they don't care about the result. Being detached makes things clear. You can see things more clearly when you don't care so much about being right. If you're not desperate for praise, you can choose better. You can choose better relationships when you don't fear being alone. And this is the paradox. It's more likely that you will get something if you don't need it. Think about people who are sure of themselves. Because everything always goes their way, they don't feel happy. It makes them feel good to know that they'll be okay even if things don't go right. That's the power of being separate. This doesn't mean being careless or not caring. Yes, you should still work hard to reach your goals and care about the people in your life. But you should never care so much about the results that you lose the ability to think straight and plan ahead. Being detached also keeps you safe from being manipulated. If someone threatens to take something away from you that you don't mind losing, their threat doesn't work. The person with nothing to lose is always the most dangerous in a room. The most powerful person in a room, though, is the one who has nothing to fear and everything to gain. Do this slowly at first. Do little things at first. Don't try so hard to win every fight. Don't care so much about what other people think. Don't put so much stock in your plans going exactly as you thought they would. You'll find something interesting as you get better at this skill. You start getting more respect from people. They can tell that you're not easy to control, which makes them respect you. Remember that being detached doesn't mean you don't care. It's about worrying without letting that care take over your life. The fourth thing is silent power. You wait instead of putting direct pressure on it. Your quiet presence becomes the most powerful force in the room when people make mistakes and are open to being hurt. A lot of people believe that power is loud. They believe it's about speaking out, demanding things, and making other people do what you want. That's not very good. Power that speaks quietly. The skill of using silent power to get what you want without saying a word. It's about putting yourself in a position where your presence changes the way things work in any setting. This is how it works. You make situations where people naturally want to do what helps you, instead of telling them what to do. You don't ask for respect. Instead, you make yourself necessary. You don't fight for power. Instead, you get people to give it to you. Let's use real-life situations to help us understand. To use silent leverage in a talk, you need to know when to pause. Most people don't like being alone when there is quiet, so they talk to fill the space. Many times, those words say more than they meant to. When you're okay with being quiet, you can control how the talk flows. When someone asks you a tough question, don't answer right away. Take a break. Take a good look at them. Wait a few seconds and then answer. Pay attention to how it changes the strength of your answer. Having options that you don't have to talk about in a deal is called silent leverage. The way someone negotiates with you changes when they know you have choices. You don't need to say you're going to leave. It's enough that you're ready to leave. When it comes to partnerships, silent leverage means being the person who makes things better without expecting anything in return. People will naturally want to keep you around if you make their lives better over and over again. You don't need to ask people to be loyal. You deserve it because of what you do. When you're at work, silent power means becoming the person that everyone goes to for help. You don't say that you can solve the problem. Problems are solved over and over again until everyone knows they can depend on you. It takes time to use silent power. You're not expecting results right away. You're making an impact that will last. Most people want things right away. They want to see effects from their work right away. But silent power is not the same. You put down seeds and watch them grow. You put money into stocks and wait for them to earn you money back. This needs a different way of thinking. You need to be okay with not getting what you want right away. You have to believe that the constant things you do will lead to the change you want. What happens once you know how to use quiet leverage? People start asking you for help even though you're not giving it. They start trying to get your praise without you asking for it. They begin to follow your lead even though you haven't told them to. You become the quietly powerful force that changes things without anyone noticing. But there is a very important moral issue here. No matter what, you should never use silent power to get people to do bad things. What we want to do is make situations where everyone wins, to get people to make better choices for themselves and others is the most moral way to use silent leverage. They're not being tricked. They are following your lead toward results that are good for everyone. Don't forget that silent power is not passive. Things are still being done. You're still moving. You're just doing it in a quiet and planned way instead of a loud and clear way. The fifth one is psychological echo. You show people what they really want and what they're afraid of. They think you're speaking their language, but you're really just learning how to understand and persuade them. It's about being a mirror that shows and tells people what they need to see and hear. This isn't about lying. It's about communicating strategically and getting to know each other well. Items, services, and ideas are not bought by people. They buy answers to their problems and things they want. You become very useful to them when you can figure out what they really need and give it to them. To be bad at this, most people think about what they want to say instead of what the other person needs to hear. In real life, let me describe how psychological echo works. First, you need to learn about how people work. You need to understand that everyone you meet has fears, feelings, and problems that you can't see. It's your job to listen for hints about what they might be. People don't just share facts when they talk about their work. They're showing what they care about, how they see themselves, and how they see the world. When someone talks about their relationships, they show you how they feel and what they really need. Most people listen before they speak. To understand, you need to listen. Here is a useful framework. 3 things are being asked by everyone you meet. Can you see me? Do you get it? Do you care about me? Through your words and deeds, you make a strong connection when you can say yes to all 3 questions. Not only do you repeat what people say, but you also repeat what they mean with the psychological echo method. You listen to figure out how the person feels, what they need, or what they're afraid of behind their words. Let's say someone says, "I hate my job." A lot of people would probably answer with tips on how to find a new job. But if you listen more closely, you might hear that they really feel like they aren't being valued, pushed, or sure about their future. Someone might say to someone else in their mind, "It sounds like you're not feeling valued for what you bring to the table," or "It sounds like you're ready for something that will challenge you more." Take note of the change. You're not jumping to answers. Instead, you're reflecting back how they feel. This helps people feel like you understand them, which builds trust and power. The important thing is to repeat the good part of what they say. If someone says they are too busy, you could remind them of how hard they work and how high their standards are. If someone is upset about something, you could remind them of how much they want to do well. People have a deep psychological need to feel understood, which is why this method works. People automatically trust you more and value your view more when you show that you really see them. But this is where it really shines. If you know what someone really wants and fears, you can talk about your ideas, requests, and suggestions in a way that makes sense to them. If someone cares about safety, you talk about your ideas in terms of keeping things safe and stable. If someone cares about being recognized, you talk about your thoughts in terms of success and praise. You talk about your thoughts in terms of freedom and choice. If someone cares about that, you're not going to change your message. You're changing the way you deliver your idea to fit how they think. This is a very important thing to remember in sales, parenting, relationships, and leadership. When someone feels like you really understand them, they want to work with you, follow you, and back you up. If you really want to understand people and help them get what they need, that's the right way to use psychological feedback. When you use this method to help other people, it turns into a way to build stronger, more important relationships. Sixth, morals that isn't clear. You're not good or bad. You do what you need to do. There are times when real power isn't black and white. The truth isn't always black and white. People don't understand this part of dark intelligence very well, and it's the most debated trait. I want to make it very clear what this does and does not mean. Having unclear morals does not mean you have no morals. That doesn't mean doing whatever you want, no matter what. It doesn't mean doing bad things to get ahead. It means being aware of how difficult the real world is. When you do the right thing in the short term, things can go badly in the long term. Being nice can sometimes make people act badly. In order to protect people, you have to make tough choices sometimes. Here is the truth. Most people can't afford to be completely morally clear when they're dealing with tough situations with real outcomes. Let me show you what I mean by giving you some examples. Imagine you are a boss and find out that one of your team members has been lying to clients and hurting relationships all the time. Maybe it would be nice to give them another chance, train them more, and hope they get better. What about the other responsible team members, though? How about the people who are being lied to? What about the group's health in the long run? If your morals aren't clear, you might decide that keeping the many safe is more important than being nice to the one. They might have to make the tough choice to kick that person off the team, even if it feels unfair. This is not mean. We call this pragmatic ethics. For instance, someone asks you for help with a relationship that you know is bad for both people. If you want to be kind, you might want to be helpful and not say anything bad. But someone with a fuzzy sense of right and wrong might decide that being truly kind means sharing the hard truth, even if it hurts the other person's feelings for a little while. Focusing on results instead of looks is the main idea here. Actions that seem good at first glance can sometimes lead to bad outcomes. There are times when doing something that seems harsh will lead to better outcomes for everyone. This calls for a different way of thinking about right and wrong. The question you should ask is not what action will make me look like a good person, but what action will help the most people. It also means being responsible for the results of the choices you make, even if those choices are hard or disliked. But here's the most important difference. Being selfish is not the same as having unclear morals. You're not doing things that help you that hurt other people, even though they are hard for you. The choices you make are practical and help the greater good. Knowing that different events call for different responses is another part of this trait. In some situations, it might be right to do something that is wrong in others. For instance, being totally honest might be the best thing to do in a close personal relationship, but it might not work in some professional talks where strategic disclosure is better. People with unclear morals are aware of these subtleties and change how they act based on them. This trait is dangerous because it can be used to excuse being selfish or doing bad things. That's why it's important to have clear moral rules about what you will and won't do, even when things get complicated. Setting clear limits for yourself is what I think you should do. What are your beliefs that you can't change? What lines are you not going to cross? What kinds of results are you ready to take responsibility for? You can be practical and smart as long as you stay within those lines. This includes making choices that other people may not understand or agree with. Don't forget that being liked by everyone is not the point. In a world where easy answers don't always work, the goal is to be useful and moral. The seventh thing is managed exposure. You don't tell everyone everything about yourself. People make assumptions more often when they don't know something, and these assumptions make them make mistakes that help your plan. Controlled exposure may seem old-fashioned in a world where everyone posts everything about their lives on social media, but it's more powerful than ever. When everyone is sharing too much, the person who shares in a smart way stands out. When everyone says what they're thinking and feeling, the person who doesn't say much is more interesting. When you use your personal information in a controlled way, you are being thoughtful. You need to realize that not everyone needs to know everything about you, and that sharing only certain things can make your relationships stronger and give you more power. Let's start with how this makes people feel. People are naturally interested in new things. When we come across something mysterious, our brains try to fill in the blanks naturally. This is known as the curiousness gap, and it's one of the most powerful psychological forces that shapes how people act. You create curiosity gaps when you practice controlled exposure. This makes people more interested in you and pay more attention to what you share. Think about the people you know who are the most interesting. It's likely that they don't tell you everything. They tell you just enough to keep you interested, but you still want to know more. This is not a mistake. It's part of a plan. Now, let's talk about how this can be used in the workplace. You can choose which ideas to share and when to share them. If you use controlled exposure, it means not showing off all of your skills at once. Keep some of your information handy so you can help people when they need it the most. For instance, you might not show off all of your skills in the first week of a new job. Instead, you could do it gradually over time. This makes it look like you're always getting better, instead of someone who reached their peak early. When you're with other people, Limited exposure means not telling everyone your whole life story. It means slowly giving out personal details as relationships grow and trust is built. This doesn't mean keeping things from other people or lying. It means being careful about what you say and who you tell it to during talks. Controlled exposure means not telling everyone right away what your goals and limits are. This means saving some information so that you can use it carefully as the negotiation goes on. This is the most important idea. Once information is made public, it can never be taken back. People can never forget something they know about you. It's better to be safe and share too little than too much. But controlled contact is more than just not telling people something. It's also about when. Depending on when it's shared, the same piece of information can have very different effects. For instance, telling someone about a skill or accomplishment early on in a relationship might come off as bragging, but telling them about it later when it can help them solve a problem makes you look grateful and willing to help. Controlled contact also means knowing who you're talking to. You need to tell different people various things about yourself. The amount of information you share should be right for the person and the situation. People who are close to you, like family and close friends, should know more about you than people you just meet. These people should know different things about you than your rivals. Someone who works for you should know more about you than someone who works for you. It's not about lying or tricking people. It has to do with using your personal information in a smart way. Another important point is this. Managing your digital trail is part of controlled exposure. Every comment you make, every picture you share, and everything else you put online is saved forever. Based on this knowledge, people will have ideas about you, often without ever meeting you. Smart people are aware of and deliberate about how they appear online. It's clear to them that their online identity is an important part of how they want to be seen and remembered. The point of limited exposure is not to be mysterious just for the sake of being mysterious. The goal is to stay in charge of your story and your connections. You can change how people see you by carefully choosing what information you share. It's possible to highlight the parts of your personality and experience that are most relevant to your present goals. You can keep from being put into a box or being stereotyped because of information that isn't full. But here is the balance you need to keep. You should share just enough to connect with people on a real level, but not so much that you lose your effective edge. People who are successful know how to find this balance. In their relationships, they're honest and open, but they're also smart about how much they share and when they share it. Eighth, being fixated on the result. You're not here to argue or make a point. You're here to make things happen. People who only care about results never waste time on games that aren't required. This is what makes workers different from amateurs, dreamers different from doers, and talkers different from doers. Things that don't matter usually take people's attention away. They care more about being right than getting things done. They care less about getting things done and more about how they look. They care more about how they feel about their process than how well it helps them reach their goals. This is what outcome addiction hears over all of that other stuff. You ask different questions when you're focused on the results. You ask, what am I trying to achieve? instead of how can I prove I'm right. You don't ask how I can look good in this situation. Instead, you ask what I can do to get what I want. Everything changes with this change in how we think. Let's start with differences and fights. A lot of people argue as if they were trying to win a fight. They rely on making their point, showing that the other person is wrong, and showing how smart or logical they are. But outcome-obsessed people handle conflicts in a different way. They ask, what do I really want to get out of this conversation? They might want to change how the other person acts. They might want to find a middle ground. They might want to learn more about how the other person sees things. Once they know what they want to happen, they choose a method that will help them get there. That could mean winning the fight, but most of the time it means something else. For instance, if you want to get someone to change how they act, showing them they're wrong might make things worse. As we all know, being wrong makes people more determined to stand our ground. Maybe it would be better to help them come to the right decision on their own. Being right might not be as important as finding an answer that works for everyone. If you want to keep the relationship good while you deal with the problem. This is true in all parts of life. When you're at work, result obsession means focusing on what moves the business forward instead of what makes you look good or important. In other words, picking projects based on how they will affect people instead of how visible they are. It means making choices based on facts and figures instead of choices and opinions. If you're in a relationship, result obsession means caring more about the relationship's health and happiness than about who is right or wrong in a given argument. It means picking your fights based on what's important instead of reacting to every little thing that bothers you. If you're into personal development, outcome obsession means that you only look at the results of your work and not your efforts or goals. It means telling the truth about what works and what doesn't, even if it makes you feel bad. Here is where being obsessed with the result really works. It keeps you from looking like you're busy when you're not. A lot of people mix up activity and success. They believe that if you work hard, you will instantly get good results. They know that you can work hard on the wrong things and still not get anywhere. Though, they always ask, is this activity really helping me reach my goal? Or am I just keeping myself busy to avoid the harder, but more important work? This makes people strategically lazy, as I like to call it, because they pick and choose where to put their energy. Outcome-obsessed people often look like they don't do as much as others. They pay attention to the 20% of tasks that get 80% of the results. They don't want to work harder than anyone else. They want to be the best worker possible. This is also true for learning and getting better at things. A person who is result-obsessed doesn't try to learn everything. Instead, they focus on getting better at the skills that will help them reach their goals the most. People ask, what is the bare minimum I need to learn in order to get the best results? It's not about being lazy or skipping steps. The key is to be smart and work efficiently. Here is a very important word of caution about result obsession. It can be harmful if you focus too much on getting things done and forget about your ideals and relationships. Being outcome-focused while staying within moral limits is the best way to act. Staying honest, treating others well, And making the world a better place should be some of the things you want to happen. When you include these values in your idea of what it means to be successful, result obsession can be a very good thing. Being ready to change direction when something isn't working is another important part of outcome obsession. It's common for people to stick to their plans and tactics even when they're not working. People who are outcome obsessed care about their goals more than the ways they get there. They try a different method if the first one doesn't work. They come up with a new plan if the old one doesn't work. They are not set in their ways about how they get what they want. They are only stubborn when it comes to getting what they want. Because they are so flexible, they are very adaptable and strong. They change how they do things when things change. They change their plans when new information comes in. To become someone who always gets things done is the ultimate goal of result obsession. Not someone who talks about getting things done. Not someone who seems to be busy but is actually working. Someone who does something useful in the real world. After a while, this image is worth a lot. Once people know you keep your promises and reach your goals, they will start to bring you better chances, partnerships, and problems to solve. These are the 8 signs of dark intelligence that you just learned. But information that isn't used is useless. Pick the trait that spoke to you the most. For the next 7 days, show that trait in all the things you do. Do not try to learn all 8 at the same time. Aim for 1. Pay attention to how different people react to you. Pay attention to how you feel when you use strategic intelligence instead of reacting emotionally. But remember the first thing we talked about. There are duties that come with this power. Protect yourself with these ideas, not to hurt other people. Use them to make things better for everyone, not just yourself. The world needs more people who are smart about strategy and use their skills in an honest way. You can protect yourself and others from influence if you can see through it. People who know how to handle tough scenarios and come up with solutions that work for everyone. That's the real goal of dark intelligence. Not to become a deceiver, but to become someone who can't be. It's not to gain power over other people, but over yourself and your situation. The person who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous in any room. The person who knows the most about people and uses that knowledge to make everyone's life better is the most useful. What kind of person do you want to be? Click the like button if this movie changed the way you think about smarts and strength. Click the bell to get more videos about psychology, tactics, and how people act. Leave a comment and tell me which of these 8 traits you see most in successful people and which one you're going to work on first. Remember until then that being smart isn't the only thing that makes you truly intelligent. In this case, it's about being smart enough to help something bigger than yourself. Keep your power, your strategy, and your morals.